And my friends, both parties are to blame. And it's time that we find those leaders that we can trust and who will stand up and stand for the principles that made this country great. Those who know and understand that this isn't about health care, this is about who controls health care. Who understand that it is not government's role to control, manage, or tell us who lives and dies. And my friends, it is not through a Wyden-Bennett healthcare bill that also controls and manages every single citizen in the United States whose premiums will be paid through the IRS. We need to be able to trust leaders who have no conflicts of interest and no entangling alliances, who will pledge that their votes, their values, and their principles cannot and will not be bought, sold, traded, or gambled away in some senatorial backroom deal. We need to be able to trust leaders again that will honor their oath.
When I went back there, I lost that faith. I knew that I was going to be an intern writing letters, returning letters to all of you. I'm sure several of you have sent letters into Senator Orrin Hatch and probably several other senators. But I want you to know, I was the one who read those letters. I was the one who signed those letters with an auto pen. They looked like they're signed. They're not. They were signed by us interns with an auto pen. I thought at least there's got to be statistics taken on these letters so that, you know, our senators, they've got to know what their constituents want and what they think, because we were getting thousands of letters per week. So surely we were taking statistics on what issues were important. We weren't. We were not taking statistics. We wrote a letter, sent it back. Several protests went out in the Hart building, right outside every senator's building. The senator's building is, so they're all on the outside and there's a huge forum in the middle. I saw several protests. Not one senator ever even knew they were there. You can't hear them from inside and they all have outdoor exits. They didn't know we were there. The Senate needs to listen. And the way to get that to them to do that, start on your local level. I understand we all want to go straight to the top. We all want to go straight to the senators and say, this is what we don't think is right, this is what is right. Those letters that we get in response, we like those letters because it sounds like we're being listened to. It sounds like, that's right. We're not. Start on your local level, push, push, push. And don't just think writing a letter is all you can do because it's not done what you thought it was going to do. So I wanted to share that, and I hope you guys can all take it for what it's worth. It's the truth. Thank you for listening. Thanks for your time.
That you're here because you want to preserve the ideals that our country was founded upon, and you know that the principles of limited government that have made America great have come under attack from both parties. And unfortunately, President Obama, with his promise of change, has proven to us that all he really meant was more of the same accelerated. But as Americans, we've certainly faced this kind of adversity before. In fact, it was the catalyst for the founding of our country. It's also far from the first time we faced corporate bailouts from the government. In fact, the original Boston Tea Party, where so much of this movement derives its philosophical strength, was a fight against government choosing winners in the marketplace. In fact, the East India Tea Company was going bankrupt, and the government was in bed with them and said, you know what, we'll let you be the monopoly. We'll give you the opportunity to be the only company that can import tea into the colonies. So all other companies were banned, and the government knew that other colonists had been smuggling in tea, and they knew this. So within thinking about a socialistic price price setting scheme, they said, you know what, even with the tax we're going to impose on this tea, we'll make sure that it's cheaper than the smuggled goods, because a lot of people oftentimes fail for free money schemes. I think cash for clunkers. So, you know, the government was aware of this, and the Sons of Liberty in Boston, they took to the streets and they said, even though the tea is cheaper that's coming from the government, we recognize that this is a measure of government trying to say who we can and cannot purchase from, and our principles tell us that we are against this. Now, the politically correct version of the Boston Tea Party, which says, oh, they're just an angry mob that was mad about paying taxes, really doesn't take into account the fact that the tea that the government was bringing was cheaper. But the Founding Fathers said that the Founding Fathers in not only Boston, but in New York and Philadelphia and Charlestown all stood up and said, no, this tea has to go. And actually in New York, Charleston, and Philadelphia, the ships left. There was a precedent in British law that said if a ship is in the harbor with more than 20 days with goods that are unloaded, it has to go away. But Governor Hutchinson in Boston, who was, you know, with the British government, he said, no, I'm gonna make the ship stay in Boston. I'm gonna make it be taxed, even though we're past the 20-day limit. And so the colonists said, you know what? It's the British government circumventing their own laws. We're not gonna stand for this. And then that's why the Boston Tea Party occurred. So